preaching my whole life long that our goal is unity, not uniformity. And it is both our differences maintained, not becoming all the same, but our differences maintained that allow us to deepen in connection and relationship, that allow us to continue to learn, to be separate. Yes, keep your diversity, keep what makes you unique, keep your particular story. We're not trying to beat you all into submission of being the exact same kind of human, but then unite. Share your stories from a place of humility. Share your revelation of God at work in your life, that we might recognize the deep truths of who God is through each other. But I'll tell you something, I'll warn you, particularly for those of us who are part of the mainstream class that controls, that has more power, it can be decentralizing. I remember, and I might have shared this story before, but I was at a conference. Most conferences that I've been to that were related to the Presbyterian Church, I was part of the majority. This particular conference, I was about the only white person in the room. There was maybe 2 or 3 others somewhere in the group, and the woman who was speaking, she said very clearly, "I see there's a few white folks in the room. I want you to know that the message today is not for you, but feel free to listen towards your own liberation." Initially, I was offended. It's not for me. I paid the same as everybody else to be here. But then it hit me. It was the first time I had been decentralized. I was not being devalued. In fact, the opposite. I was being invited in to a context that I had never been a part of before, and being given a role and a permission to be there, even if I was not the specific target audience. See, I'd never not been the target audience. So it felt like loss, that decentralizing, but it wasn't loss. It was an opportunity to grow and to become a little bit more than I was when I came in. Paul honors our differences as he talks about there are a variety of gifts but the same Spirit, and there are varieties of services but the same Lord, and there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who activates all of them in every one. Do you have any idea how different our church service looks than what Paul would have been doing with his people? Can you imagine? Christianity wasn't even like a legal recognized religion when Paul's writing this stuff, right? It's different. But it's the same Spirit activating. It's the same God. And we can go in with a lens of criticism and try to say how all of them are wrong, or we can go in with a lens of love and acceptance and humility and see what we can learn. Ephesians echoes this: one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all, not just a few, all. But each of us was given grace according to the measure of Christ's gift. Whew. Glad for that grace part. Despite our uniquenesses, it all comes from the same God who loves us and created us. It's like the Trinity. The parts of the Trinity are unique: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They sort of have different roles, and yet they are one. An idea that we've probably heard many times, so we just kind of let it go. But people are like, one God or 3 gods? You got to think, when we were first coming up with these ideas and trying to learn how to make sense of them, how is it 3 and 1? But it's because of this unique but equal connection between these loving entities, which gives us an example of different, diverse, but also loving and accepting. See, it's the ego that wants there to be one right way, and they want it to be mine. And I would like everybody else to just behave in the ways that I think are appropriate, and then we can all get along. That's the difference between this idea of conform and control and the idea of love. See, love accepts. You've heard that passage from Corinthians enough times. Love does not boast, it does not judge, it is eternal. It does not force us to conform and control, but wraps its big arms around us, inviting us all to be uniquely who we are and know that we are made in the divine image, a divine identity that offers us balance. You don't have to be just one thing. We don't have to be just one kind of person. The Trinity gives us a different model, a model of radical love, union, or as we say it here, unconditional love and inclusive community. Yes, God is one. Deuteronomy reminds us, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone." But it begins with relationship and unconditional love that is exampled through the Trinity. We get this fancy Greek word, perichoresis. It's the best they could come up with, but it means like this loving dance and connection between the parts of the Trinity. See, this is our legacy. This is who we are. This is the image that we are made in. Hopefully that we might limit our judgment. Genesis 1:26 is where it tells us that this is the image we are made in. Let us make humans in our image. Our because it's not just one, and it's also one. According to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created humans in their image. In the image of God, they created them, male and female. They created them. Not for one to dominate the other, but to live in the example of the triune God who was created for us, that created us to be like the triune God, that we could be different and yet connectional and loved and together. See, it's an identity versus a behavior. We struggle with the behavior part. We struggle with how we act in accordance with this, but this is our deep and true identity, one we're always trying to get back to. That's why we come here together to worship. That's why we create this time together where we break bread. It's this time where we say that everyone is welcome at this table, not because we're all the same, but exactly the opposite of that, because our differences somehow, miraculously, because we are made in the divine image, make us more than just the sum of our parts. It's why in this church we say, you are welcome, and no one will ever be turned away. What we know about the first instance of communion, I'm going to back that up, and I'll start it back in a minute. What we know of the first instance of communion was that Jesus was sitting around the table with his friends. It was not a big group of people, about a dozen. One of them was to betray him. Jesus still didn't exclude anyone from that table. Instead, he took bread that would have been common to his time and his place, just as we are taking bread common to our time and place, and he would have blessed it. Holy God, bless this food. And he would have broken it. And he would have said, this is my body broken for you for the forgiveness of sins. Take and eat. Do this in remembrance of me, in remembrance of those teachings, in remembrance of whose likeness you are made in remembrance that I abide in the Father and the Father abides in me, and all of that somehow wrapped up in love as we connect and abide in each other. Similarly, Jesus would have taken wine, in our case, grape juice, and he would have blessed it. Holy God, bless this to your purpose. And he would poured it and said, this is the new covenant sealed in my blood for the forgiveness of sins. Drink ye all of it. Every time that you eat this bread and you drink this cup, you proclaim the saving grace of the risen Christ, the one we just talked about, the one in whom you may not initially recognize, but you'll always know. The one who announced over and over again your identity as a child of God and your belonging in this place. These are the elements of God for the people of God. Amen. Could I have my servers come forward, please?